Okay, looking at my front end, it was a little loose steering, I thought, and it's got this worm and peg type steering, so it's never supposed to be as tight as rack and pinion. But looking around a little bit, and I found this behavior. Hopefully that shows. You can see right here that pops up. It's like there's supposed to be a bushing in there that's just completely missing. Here's a better view of that movement. This is just inside the front fender. Got the apron off with the engine out, but definitely see that moving up and down. Looks like there's supposed to be a bushing there that's just completely gone. There's 3 set screws back here. You can see one hole there. You take those 3 set screws out, and then this turn signal module will come out. You have to pull a little bit. It's actually pulling the wires up through the stator tube in the middle. You can see the wires down in there, or the wire jacket. And I guess once you pull that off, then of course you can take the steering wheel off. Okay, the set screws are pretty small. You can see them there. Little point on the end. I had to take a screwdriver and grind it a little bit to get it to fit in nicely. So I wouldn't strip them, but they actually came out very easily. The only reason I'm doing this is I want to get this lower wishbone control arm thing out, and it won't go by the drop arm, I think it's called, or pitman arm, more common in US terminology, but I can't get that arm off with the control module there, and I don't want to try to take the that arm off in the car especially. I did take out the 2 bolts that come through from the other side and get into those captive nuts there, so that this module is loose, but I still can't move it enough to get the thing out. I took off this gland nut that goes there. He's down the wire right there. So now the wire should be able to pull through there, assuming these connectors on the end fit. It looks like it's going to be close, but I'm going to give that a try. And then I've disconnected this split coupling here. I guess there are 3 types of steering rods or shafts for these cars. There's the solid, where you don't have this split coupling. Then there's this one, and then there's another solid one, I think, for the adjustable steering wheel models, which I don't have. And I guess in those models, the steering wheel is a little different. Instead of the spokes being like this, they're more cut the circle into thirds. And I guess they're also leather wrapped, but I'm not sure if that's true of all of them. So anyway, I'll try to take that thing out so that I can carefully remove that steering box, and you can see the 2 bolts I took out there. The lower bolt has a bracket on it. I forget what that's for. But anyway, I'm going to try to take that out now. These are not just slipping in there easily, so I can't quite tell if that's tube supposed to come out there. And so I'm going to take the cover off. I took out these 3 bolts, and then there's just a little bit of an edge there you can pry up on to pop it loose. And it looks pretty disgusting in here. Looks like more like grease than oil, but so I'm gonna have to try to clean that out so I can get a better understanding of what's going on in here. Okay, the wires with these bullet connectors do fit in there, but this guy doesn't. I don't know if that's original or not. I'm betting it's probably not, but I can't get that guy off. I don't know how it's in there. It feels like it's hard plastic, like Bakelite or something, so I think I'm going to carefully cut it away with a motor tool, and at least I can save the connector for now and decide what to do later. I did take this off. That was a bust. The only thing that helped was I got enough grease on the wires that they slid up the tube a little easier. Okay, I cut off that plastic piece. It was a softer plastic. I think maybe it just hardened up over time. So yeah, I'm not sure why they put such a big piece of plastic on there if it really truly has to go through this tube. So maybe it was retrofitted, or maybe I'm taking it apart wrong. Okay, it's out. I wonder how much fun it'll be trying to put that back in the tube. Okay, so I sort of did it wrong. This is the stator tube. I now understand how it works. So if you leave the wires in, pull the whole tube and wires out through the steering wheel, you don't have to worry about rethreading the wires down or cutting off a connector or anything. But I couldn't pull the tube up from the steering wheel side anyway, so I'm using that to justify the fact that I cut that connector off, and I'm trying to get it out through the bottom here. So, and it looks like it goes right through the oil or the steering box lube because it's all over the shaft there. But I'm working it back and forth trying to get this thing out. It was in there pretty good. Okay, after working it back and forth several times, I was able to get it out the steering wheel end. I wasn't able to get it out the control box end. I think it was hitting on this gizmo thing. It actually rotates on the shaft. Must be sort of a bearing, I guess. There's two of them. There's one on up here on this end as well. This one rotates a little better. And they look like they're about equidistant from the ends. But the end that the steering wheel's on, that's got a cutout here, a slot. So just so you put it back in right, I guess. Anyway, now hopefully the steering column will come apart and I can take this control box out finally. Have the steering apart. This is the cover with the adjusting screw and the oil filler. This bearing is further up in the column. I think there's a matching cap piece up there I couldn't get out yet. This is the bearing on the end here. And then there's a small shim, maybe two shims. Didn't look like there was a gasket of any sort in there, unless it's just a metal piece. Bolts. And I'm supposed to mark the relationship of this arm with respect to the rocker, I guess they call that thing. And it says it may already be scribed, but I can't see anything. But just for a rough setting, I have this lined up here, that hole, and that bolt in a straight line. If I look down at this shaft, it's almost parallel to the steering column, but it's a little bit that way. But I think that'd be close enough. I could put it back together if I lose my scribe or can't find theirs, etc. Okay, there is a mark here on how to line it up, as you can see there. So I'm good on that. What I'm not sure about is what sets how far this arm goes onto the shaft. I think I see the spline below it, and I don't want to put the shaft on too far. I don't know if it bottoms out or not, so I'm going to try to take a measurement in there just to have that in case it matters. Here's the remnants of, I think, the nylon bushing on the steering shaft that slid down into the steering chamber apparently. Okay, measuring this separation here. It's hard to get a super accurate reading, but looks like 3/8 of an inch there. It's right over here. Yeah, a little bit less, but I think that was me trying to wedge it in there. Pulling the arm off here. I tried a bunch of different pullers, and this one almost fit perfectly, but it was just a little crooked. It didn't really grab on the ears very well, so this is the best fit where it stays nice and perpendicular. Okay, there's an hour of wire brush cleaning. I got things cleaned up pretty well. So I'm going to do a couple things. I want to take this adjuster screw out here, but I'm going to measure the height so I can put it back where it was, at least for a starting point. Okay, so I've got a new oil seal here. That looks like that's right. And I can see the bushing in there. And I have a new bushing here. This looks like that's right. The thing I'm not sure about, if I turn this over, it really looks like there's something pressed in there. I can't tell, maybe it's just the edge where it was machined, but it almost looks like there's something pressed in there. And I don't have a new bushing for that end, if it's really what that is. And this nut is looks like a Wentworth again, 5/16. The metric doesn't fit very well. English is sloppy, and Wentworth fits pretty tight, so another one of those guys. I want to put this new bushing on, and I didn't realize it, but this was all that was left of the old one, and I couldn't put this on because it interferes. But I think this just comes off, and it's part of the old bushing. The old one was really far gone. Well, that was the problem. That must be part of the old bushing that was on here. Just put it in the vise, tapped it off.